to give some instances for this. You see, Shahrukh doesn't get statements all the time. Sachin doesn't score a century every time he goes the bat, and it doesn't rain always when it's cloudy. So how can anyone say that they're always right? You see, always comes with 100% guarantee they're going to be right. What do they don't act like my fellow conductors say that they don't force us anything and this and that. But of course, they don't force anything. They don't impose their point of view on us. They still give us their suggestions and guidelines in various aspects in our lives. But let me ask you, what is the 100% guarantee that whatever guidance they will give us is bound to be correct each time they give us? I would like to clear this point. Our parents are possessive and protective towards us, but they're also over-possessive and over-protective towards us because they don't let us to come out of our safe and cozy boxes and face the challenges of life head-on. Don't you think they're wrong when they try to hide the sore truths and sad facts of life? Our parents, of course, don't want us to get burned in the soup called life. They want us to have a strong framework. But a neurotic, unavoidable, unnecessary anxiety comes in the way of many successes in our lives. Our parents should tell us how to take decisions, not what decisions we should take. I would like to repeat, our parents should tell us what decisions they should tell us what decisions we should take. They should tell us how the decisions are to be taken in life. In conclusion, I would like to mention two lines from the poem written by Khalil Gibran. He said, "Children come through you, but not from you. You can give us your love, but not your thoughts, because we are born with our own." So parents, you can be right mostly, you can be right often, but you're not always. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Shivani. I'm here to speak on the topic "Parents are always right," and I'm supporting this motion. But before I start, I just want to share experience with you. When I was preparing for this debate, I just came across a phrase which we usually learn and pray for it every day. And it's like, "Tvameva mata, pita tvameva, tvameva bandhu cha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva, tvameva sarva mam deva deva." This truly and truly made me stand here today in front of you and support this topic. As we all know, India is a country where parents are treated as God and they are given a place next to that Almighty. And if we talk about parent and child relationship goes hand in hand. It can't be broken in any ways. It can't be broken in any ways. It goes from cradle to grave. Parents have been parents throughout the child's life. They can never be wrong. And what do we children do in return? They do everything, every single thing they can possibly do to fulfill our needs and demands. For instance, I got a problem sometime later back. My dad came in and he tried to help me out, but I refused. I regret today and I cursed that day of my life that why did I listen to him? Why didn't I take token advice from him? I seriously cursed that day of my life. When you are young, parents may seem wrong. I'm sure you may not even like it, but my friends, don't forget experience. They are more experienced than us. They wish one best for you, hoping that you won't do the mistakes that they have already done. Their judgment is anyway better than ours because they can see the consequences of that mistake that you can do and they can help you out in any way. And above all, it's not only that you always have to listen to them. You can ask that why some things are not permitted. Just ask and learn. And in the end, I just want to end it up by saying that my parents are my heroes and I can't see anyone else as my heroes. Thank you.
morning to all my competitors and panel of judges. I am Soumya Joy, here to speak on the topic, Are Parents Always Right? And as for me, I am against the topic. Parents are undoubtedly an important part of the society, as they are the ones who bring up the children, who in turn are the future of the world. But this just does not mean that they have to be right always. Even the great scientist, Sir Isaac Newton, was not always right. According to the Holy Bible, Romans chapter 3, verse 23, that says, Your parents are sinners, as much in need of God's grace as you are. This includes our parents as well. Parents should give their children the chance to access their knowledge and experience. And as it is, they are not going to live the same life as the parents have. No one learns to swim unless they enter the water. But our parents are so preoccupied by the dangers that we would face in the water that they would never let us take the chance and overcome our fears. According to a latest survey by the WHO, that is the World Health Organization, 33%, please pay heed to this, 33% of the world's suicide rates among the youth takes place in India. What do you think? What could be the reason for this? One major reason for this is children in India are spoon-fed since their very tender age by their family and parents. And when it comes on to them for taking up the challenges of the world and shouldering huge responsibilities upon themselves, they usually break down and end up killing themselves. Parents today are crazy about the education of their children. Many times there are parents who even force their dream careers on their children, which they could not achieve, irrespective of the desires and capabilities of the child. And when the poor child is unable to reach up to the expected level of the parents, the child is condemned and even criticized. It is owing to the generation gap that there always lies a breach between the younger generation and their parents. The parents are not always able to equate themselves with thinking of their children. Thus, the parents need to know when to bow out of their children's lives. Look around yourself, for example. There are innumerable children on the traffic signals and streets begging for food, for money, and even stealing at times. Do you think that they do it for themselves, by themselves? No. Many times their parents are the ones who actually force these little sharabs to use them as weapons for monetary income. There are parents who even teach their children to smoke, to kill, and even to abuse. Especially, say for example, in mafia families. Thus, while summing up, all I have to say is, parents are no gods. They are mere human beings with 206 bones. Thus, they have their flaws and shortcomings. And it's just not about the parents, but nobody in the world can be just followed blindly. Thank you.
For the motion, parents are always right. Somebody has rightly said that when God cannot be with everyone and everywhere, therefore He created parents in His image. Parents are the most precious gift given to us by God. So we ought to respect our parents just like God, so that we can attain success in our life. Our parents have tried to provide us with every single comfort that we desire of, whether it is food, clothes, shelter, money, and whatnot. The first correct decision taken by our parents is to get their child educated. It is only because our parents that they are educated. They were worried about education. Mother becomes the first teacher for the child with whom he starts the journey of his life. It is only because of the decisions taken by our parents that we are living a successful life. Yes, parents are always right. Let me ask you a very simple question. How could a child betray the orders given to him by his parents? How does he forget that it is those parents who have spent so many sleepless nights for those very children? It is those parents who have tried to fulfill each dream of their children by even flourishing their own dreams. Nothing. There could be many reasons for this very question. As a child grows up, he finds a company of his friends where he could share his ideas freely. His lust for money and selflessness could also be the reason to betray the ideas, betray the orders given to him by his parents. But one must always remember that the advice given to us by our parents is always correct, because they are our well-wishers, and most of all, they have enough love and sympathy for us than anybody else in this whole world. So we must never forget that our parents are always correct. Sometimes it happens that our parents scold us for the mischiefs or the mistakes we commit in our life. But it is also for our good. The main reason behind those scolding is that so that the child could improve. He may not commit that mistake again in his life. But as we are heading towards our modern civilization, we come to see that the students or the teenagers start betraying the orders given to them by their parents, and they took their orders for granted. I asked those children, what for are they doing all these things? It is they must try to follow the guidelines given to them by their parents, because only by working upon the guidelines given to them by their parents they can succeed in their life. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am amazed to stand in front of you to speak against the motion. First of all, let me tell you that there is a big difference between always right and usually right. First of all, let me tell you that there is a big difference between always right and usually right. If you ask, are parents always right? The answer is no. But if you ask, are they usually right? The answer is yes. Parents are needed in our society to look after their children. That's going to lead the nation in future. In fact, parents think for the welfare of their children with mature mind and try to give them correct advice. But that doesn't mean that they are always right and their ways must always be followed. As nobody is perfect, parents are human beings and humans can make mistakes. They have some ways that may lead their children to danger and wrongdoings. In fact, parents' advices are being vitiated on certain occasions. They must impose their own wishes with their thinking that their children are bound to obey them in all circumstances. This will ultimately hamper the career of a child. He can't progress in his life. Sometimes parents are usually the reason why their children are not successful with their future. Let me give you a simple example. Look around you. Look at the little poor kids asking for food, clothing, shelter. They are even searching for the food in garbage. They sometimes eat the rotten one and become ill only to get by the hunger. Do you think whose fault is it? Parents, of course. If their parents put some effort with their life, then their children are not be like this by now. Their parents are lack of guidance and support with their children. In some bad families, a child learns how to smoke, how to kill, cruelty against mankind. Do you think it will be good for him when he grows up? This will ultimately hamper the growth of a child and which may lead to downfall of any nation. Now, I want to conclude that by saying that all of us, even the greatest critics, can't tell whether the parents are always right or not. But the lesson here is that parents should appreciate their children for their achievements, and their children must also do the same. Both the sides sit together and hear each other's explanation and try to make a possible solution. In this way, a parent-child relationship would grow much better than you think. Thank you. Have a listen.
By the time he man realizes that maybe his father was right, he himself has a son who thinks he's wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sakshi Sharma from Anandri College, and I'm standing here fully supporting the topic parents are always right. Starting with, we've been talking about this since the time we started debating. We've been talking about parents in general. Let's just talk about them individually, your parents. Don't you think they're gods? I do respect my parents, I do feel they're God. Other than the fact that they've provided us with nourishment, education, all kinds of things, basics, there are more things that they've provided us with. They have given us models. I do take examples and I do take all the things that you're throwing against it, saying that there are mafia families and they've been teaching their kids things which are not supposed to be right. But I still would say there are exceptions, and I would still say if we play the blame game, I can still say when they were children, I think that it was their mistake. It can be called their mistake considering that their parents considered a brighter future for them. Maybe they were the ones who ignored it. So if we play the blame game here, I can say children are more responsible. Talking about parents again, I myself belong to the new generation as much as I belong to my parents. Even I feel that there is a generation gap. Even I feel that there are problems like I'm not very much allowed for night outs or late night parties or anything such as that. There are times when they do agree, but there are times when I do have to argue with them. But what I say is, just because they're possessive, just because they take you as a responsibility, just because they have authorities over you, you cannot say that they're not right. For example, if you have something that belongs to you and if you're responsible enough, it's very obvious that you're going to take care of it. It is very obvious that you'll be possessive about it, where you keep it, how you keep it. That is the same thing that your parents do. They just need time. Just like I actually feel so privileged to be sitting between you people, the modern age people, you have thinking, you have your own views. Just the same, they have their social circle which might not be as forward in thinking as we are. So what we need to do is sit with them and talk. If you actually feel that, they're wrong. But personally, they're never wrong, they're always right. And it's just that they're overprotective. That can be a negative factor, but I think that can be overcome. If you're convincing enough and they think they can trust you, I think parents are never wrong. They'll never think wrong for you. They own you, is what I feel. Not your thoughts, obviously, but they own you. Why would they ever say something that is going to be wrong? I do agree they're humans, I do agree humans do make mistakes, but I seriously don't think they'll ever say anything at all, that goes against us. That is what I believe. Again, though I stand here saying parents are always right, still considering the people standing in the opposite, I still say parents may not always be right, but they're never wrong. Thank you.
First of all, very good afternoon to all the people present here, and heartiest thanks to all those who have provided me the opportunity to express my views here. Now coming over to what my dear friend Shakshi expressed views about the parents play a vital role in our life. But in fact they are the one who was brought in this world. It's our parents who are first guides and mentors. They will think of our best at times, but the best is not always in the interest of us. Parents are not always right, accept it. In some cases, they are the very reason why their children are not successful. Many people trying to fulfill their unfulfilled dreams through us by impinging to our aims. They want us to see where they could not reach themselves, so they impose their decisions on us. Look around us. Aren't these the same parents who are responsible for the increasing number of fetal fratricides? Aren't they the same parents whom we place above the God? The point what I want to establish now is that parents are being human beings, mere human beings. They can commit errors, they can commit mistakes, and all of the decisions they take for us can't always be right. The moment we are born, the moment we are certified as engineer, doctor, or something else, this is not just a matter of thought, but it's a damn realistic truth with which many of you would agree. Parents seem to have forgotten their own days of childhood and teenage life until and unless they realize the fact it is for the generation that remains the bridge between the parents and the younger generation. Sometimes they think of their own way and do not able to equate themselves with the thinking of their own children. Employ the realization on the children, and at that very moment they produce themselves wrong. All of you sitting here must be knowing why is it always that a child has to kill his aims or dreams and walk away just to fulfill his parents' dreams. It is high time that the parents should realize that their child has to open the wings and see how vast this world is. Support them to see through the eyes of imagination, and the best will be in front of us. In fact, parents usually think of the welfare of their children with mature mind and try to give correct advice. But if they are more attached to their children, their advice becomes vitiated on certain occasions and can hamper the career of a child. I'm not saying that parents are wrong, always wrong, that they are right. And pointing the note, I would say parents are not always wrong, but they have to negotiate with the trends of the present generation. That's all. Thank you.
A group of youngsters were crushed to death in a car accident. Drinking and driving fast, the car crashed into a truck. Our worried mother had treated her child several times, not to drink and drive fast. Her concern was only the safety of her child. But the child had felt parents can never stop giving lectures. The payment of not listening to the mother was life. Respected judges, teachers and my fellow speakers, I, Manisha Ahuja, and I strongly support the motion that parents are always right. At the age of 50, when people suffer from several deficiencies, they remember how their parents used to force them to eat all their veggies and they didn't pay heed. They remember how their parents used to tell them to stay away from bad company when they get betrayed by their people they thought were best friends, or times when people land up doing badly in life. They recall how time and again parents used to say, work hard and don't take shortcuts in life. While I'm making all of you familiar with some of the situations we have experienced ourselves, it is not to highlight whether our parents were wrong or they were right, or we were wrong and we were right, but to truly stress on the fact that our parents are never really incorrect in their judgment about us. They always want what is best for us. Believe me when I tell you, when we falter and fail, parents got no pleasure in saying, they get no joy in saying, I told you it's going to happen, I said so. Their wisdom only believes in the fact that forewarned is forearmed. Through a lifetime of experiences facing hundreds of situations, we can't even imagine of our parents having insight into the do's and don'ts of life. Nevertheless, my worthy friends feel that parents are mistaken and children are always right. They very proudly call the years of knowledge as a generation gap and put a tag of conventionality to the righteous and subtle ideals. What a convenient way of hiding our own inadequacies. The youngsters smoke, they do drugs, they drink, they drive, they break rules in style. Please and define their parents, terminating their health, their morals, their ethics. But pardon me when I say, they are still always right and parents are always wrong. Before coming for this debate, I asked several of my friends personally whether they really felt their parents are right or not. 80% of them said that if they would be truly honest to themselves, very less of them are honest to themselves. Their parents, whenever had voiced opinions, taken decisions, and especially warned them against circumstances, they turned out to be correct. Because we can't forget that they are the only one in the world who has selfless compassion for us. Still, state of a parent is very strange. They say, if you have never been created by a child, you have never been a parent. I think all of us sitting in this room agree that we have created our parents some or the other time in our lives. But they are the ones who protect us and save us from situations. And sadly, we find this concern to be an infiltration of privacy of words. Parents are indeed the essence of tremendous wisdom, tremendous love, unconditional love, devotion, however, get constantly unappreciated for it. If a person is great, that greatness was not achieved in a vacuum. It was some parents who sowed the seeds of greatness for us. Parents give us life, agreed, but they can't live it for us. They will give us love, but they can't force that love upon us. They help us to recognize choices, but they can't choose those choices for us. They give us advice, but they can't accept the advice for us. Then who are we to blame them for whatever we blame them for? They give us love and expect nothing in return. Whatever they do is to selflessly see us grow happier and grander day after day after day, with no returns. And if we still categorize their deeds as not being right, then we fail as human beings. Thank you.
Truthfulness is a treasured virtue. One should always summon the courage to speak the truth. A mother is teaching her 5-year-old son the power of truth. Suddenly someone comes knocking at the door, asking for the father. Completely oblivious to his child's lessons, the father instructs, "Say that I haven't yet returned from work." Poor child, is he to believe his textbook or the way the world is shown to him? Good morning, I'm Madhurima Datta and I'm here to share my views against the given motion, parents are always right. A child is an unscattered, innocent soul who is molded into an individual by life itself in the hands of his parents. What a child learns is not just what he is taught, but also what he witnesses of his elders. Unfortunately, parents often fail to be the examples of what they themselves teach. A child does not have the maturity to understand the reason behind every action of his parents, but they gadgets, with cars, and the child is tagged as a spoiled brat. Spoiled, true, but by whom? A parent. My child is the most intelligent soul I've ever seen. No other student deserves a first prize. Another parent. While our neighbor's daughter achieves academic excellence, our child boasts of drinking on the cultural cup. Sounds familiar, right? These are just a few extracts of parental conversations that even you might remember. Each individual has his own sense of principles, his own attitude, his own aspirations and goals of success. Every human being is gifted with a mind to think and a language which is thoughts and actions. If I am unable to achieve that in life which I thought was the best, I do not take advantage of my extra years on earth and for someone else to bring that happiness for me. What tastes sweet to me might taste almost diabetic to some other person. A girl's parents always denied her appeals to all her friends. Tired of such repeated reviews, she likes to go to post her house. On her way back, she meets with an accident. But her parents are foolish to her. Had her parents given her freedom with a sense of responsibility, she would not have had to receive them in any way. But then, parents are always right. Why can't you return home before 8? Even uncle stays up to 8, and we are of the same age. And moreover, Ankita was allowed to go off with a friend when she was in college. Ankit is a boy, as for Ankita is elder to her. I may be your youngest child, but I'm not the youngest in this world. And if some people can't mind the behavior, why should I restrict myself to some fake safety zone? That is the problem with today's children. The conversation definitely remains to be continued, but the main goal is likely to remain the same. Times have changed, and one cannot survive in the 21st century without improvising on his 20th century thought process, can we? Dear parents, it's not about what everyone advises us. What you do for us is not for us on our part. It's just an inspiration to discover if nothing can be better than that. It's an effort to assist you in finding the best for us. Let's not be judgmental of our parents, but then again to cast them as God figures and say that parents are always right would be an overstatement. After all, the parents are human beings, and God is human. Thank you.
Has rightly remarked, my parents are and were my heroes. I can't have anyone else except our heroes. A very good afternoon to my reverend judges, respected teachers, and my dear friends. I, Ashwara Dwivedi, is here to speak in favor of the topic of parents always right. Parents are there in a society to look after the children and help build them the moral fabric of the nation. They wish what is best for us, and hence want that they may not mistake any mistake that we have done. All children behaving and understanding their parents will lead them to success, and therefore we should always continue to listen to their parents. All their behavior is justified simply because of the age and the reasoning that they have had more experience than us, hence everything that is done therein is not questionable. A parent with the foresight to know that they are there for us and they can be there for you in times when you need them. When parents are on their side, parents are wonderful to have fall back on, but the real world is that monster you feel you had in your closet. You are never as grown up as your parents. Your parents will need you one day. Is it really them that bring your ups and downs? The children are always children of them, whether they are 13 or 30. Your parents some credit. They are more right than you think they are. But you know that already, don't you? What children usually feel is that they are not provided with sufficient freedom. According to our parents, freedom is for benefit and exposure towards the greatest fields. But for present generation, freedom is roaming with friends, hanging out, drinking, driving. So I want to ask from my worthy opponent, and after being a parent, will you grant this freedom to your child? When you are old enough to live by your own son, you'll have the luxury of looking back and deciding what parents did was good or bad. I look back even now and say, damn, my parents were right. So friends, remember the words of Bible. He who shall curse his parents, that surely receives death. Thank you.
creates a generation gap between parents and their young ones. Parents have a tendency to take decisions on the basis of their past experiences, but they often lead to wrong decisions. On numerous occasions, they are not aware or are not confident about the interest and potential of their children. That's why they take decisions without having adequate knowledge. And of course, on various discussions, they take suggestions from their family friends and colleagues, and what they think, oh, it's the era of engineering. Yeah,